I'm 59. I don't even know how it happened. Not so long ago I was 30, wearing floral dresses, laughing on summer terraces, feeling men's eyes on my shoulders. Now my reflection in the mirror looks at me with a slight weariness. Around my eyes are thin lines, which my husband calls smile marks. Except he hasn't given me a reason to smile in a long time. Mikhail, my husband, is a good man. Reliable, faithful, caring. We've been together for over 30 years, and that probably says a lot. He drinks his black coffee without sugar every morning, reads the newspaper, and then goes to work, although he could have retired long ago. He's not interested in staying home, and frankly, I'm not the kind of woman you want to rush back for. Our evenings are the same: dinner, short conversations, TV. He's always there, but it's like he's far away. He loves me, I know, but he doesn't see me anymore. For him I am just a part of the house, of his usual life, something unchanged, like an old good armchair. I'm not complaining. No, not at all. I have a comfortable home, wealth, respect. Many women would dream of having a husband like that. But sometimes, in the late evenings, when the rain sounds outside the window, I feel something strange. As if I am a ghost of myself, frozen in a familiar space. As if the real me, the one who once laughed and kissed furtively, has disappeared, dissolved into comfort and stability. Or maybe I'm just overworked. That day, that's what I thought. It was overcast, the sky a heavy gray canvas, and I was tidying up the house as usual. Dusting bookshelves, ironing shirts, the rituals I used to fill the void. Just as I ran out of groceries, I ordered delivery. A simple little thing. A routine. I couldn't even imagine that in a few minutes, my familiar, established life would come apart at the seams. The doorbell rang unexpectedly loud. I went to open the door without thinking, fixing my hair. As I opened the door, I saw him. He was tall, with a slight carelessness in his posture, with lively, slightly daring eyes. He looked at me as if he saw not just an older woman in a cozy cardigan, but a woman. A real woman. I should have just grabbed the shopping bag and closed the door. But something inside me stirred. Something I'd long thought was dead. Your order, his voice was deep and slightly husky. I felt my fingers trembling slightly. Thank you, I replied, but my voice sounded quieter than usual. And then something happened that changed everything. Thank you, I repeated, taking the shopping bag from him. But he wouldn't leave. I noticed him bite his lip a little, as if thinking about something, and then suddenly he smiled, not the on-duty smile, not the polite courier smile, but the smile that was meant only for you. It was a smile I hadn't seen in years. Aren't you afraid to order delivery? He asked suddenly. Why? I wondered. Well, what if I'm a criminal? I laughed. It was so ridiculous and cocky that something tickled inside me. And what kind of criminal are you? He pretended to think about it, then pitched forward a little. Heartbreaker. His words sounded too bold, too sudden, but I liked it. I'd gotten used to men not noticing me, to having their eyes glide over me as if I were something familiar and uninteresting. But he saw me. I caught myself smiling too. Oh, then I should close the door before you take mine away? I played along. He laughed, lightly, heartily. It's late, he said, and I felt something inside me shiver, but not from fear. It was something else. His name tag said Artem on it. You're so funny, Artem. I barely concealed my embarrassment and took a step back. Funny? He grinned. I'd prefer charming. I shook my head, still smiling. Young man, you seem to be not only a criminal, but a terrible coquette. He squinted, as if scrutinizing me, and then leaned a little closer. And you like it, don't you? I didn't answer. Because he was right. Thanks for the delivery, I finally said, trying to speak calmly, but my heart was beating a little faster than usual. Artem nodded, as if giving me a chance to save face. Have a good evening. He tilted his head slightly. And watch out for muggers. He left, and I stood at the door, holding the bag but not feeling its weight. I could still hear his voice in my head. I was 59 years old, had been married for over 30, and it had been a long time since anything new had happened in my life. But now, something has changed. Let's stop for a short pause. Write in the comments where you are listening to our stories from, whether something similar happened to you in your life, and what emotions you feel when reading this story. It will be interesting to know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the continuation. And now, let's continue. From that day on, I waited for delivery in a way I had never waited before. I'd find an excuse to order something: milk, coffee, some unnecessary little thing just to hear the doorbell ring again. Just to see him again. And he came. You again? I asked once, standing on the doorstep with my arms crossed over my chest. Artem smiled broadly, as if he knew my little secret. I'm beginning to suspect that you're ordering to see me on purpose. I laughed, trying to hide the slight excitement. Don't flatter yourself, young man. Oh, so you like older men? He squinted at me, studying me. I knew it was a game. But it was a game that made me feel. I like someone who knows how to behave, I replied, but everything was trembling inside. Every time we met, it was like a little duel. He challenged me, and I pretended not to notice. But one day he did something that turned everything upside down. It was an ordinary day. I ordered coffee and fruit, again the occasion, again the waiting. But this time, when I opened the door, Artem didn't hand me the package right away. He held it in one hand, and in the other. Rosa. Red. What is it? My voice trembled. Just a little gift. Suddenly there are too few flowers in your life? I couldn't move. I looked at the rose, then at him, then at the rose again. It's wrong, I whispered, but my hand reached for the flower. He stepped closer. Why? I didn't know the answer. I couldn't say that I loved my husband, that wouldn't be true. I couldn't say that I didn't care for Artem, that would be a lie. I'm too old to play games, I tried to joke, but my voice sounded muffled. Artem looked at me carefully. What if it's not a game? The silence between us filled everything. I wanted to say go away, but instead I let him into the apartment. For the first time in years, I forgot who I was. I forgot how old I was, what my status was, what my past was. All I remember is the look in his eyes. His hands. His warmth. In that moment, I stopped being just a wife, just a woman on the cusp of 60. I became alive again. And now I didn't know how to live with it anymore. I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize myself. There was still a trace of his kisses on my lips. The ghostly echo of his touch on my skin. His lips still bore the trace of his kisses. I did it. I crossed a line I never thought I'd crossed before. I didn't just cheat on my husband, I changed myself. My heart pounded as if I were a young girl again, experiencing forbidden passion for the first time. But at the same time, something else was burning in my chest, something unsettling, inescapable. I sat in silence, listening to the kettle warming in the kitchen. Artem had left a few hours ago, leaving behind the smell of male perfume and chaos in my soul. And then Michael walked through the door. How was your day? His voice was familiar, calm. He didn't look at me, just took off his coat, undid the buttons of his shirt, and walked into the kitchen. He was acting the way he always did, but I saw him differently now. He didn't have Artem's lightness, his boldness, his look that made everything shake inside. But he had something else in him: reliability, loyalty, years of living together. I looked at him and realized I couldn't lose him. But I've already betrayed him, haven't I? Lena? Mikhail turned to me. I flinched as if he'd caught me red-handed. Uh-huh. You're not. Different. He looked at me carefully. Not his usual absent-minded, habitual look, but a real one. I felt my fingers trembling. Just tired, I said. Why don't we go somewhere? Take a vacation? I looked at him and something inside me clenched. He felt it. He, who had been cold to me for years, suddenly noticed. But isn't it too late? All night I tossed around in bed, not knowing what to do. With Artem, I felt alive, but what's next for me with him? He's young. He has a life ahead of him, he can choose anyone. Why did he choose me? And Mikhail is my life. Without passion, without fire, but I've come a long way with him. Will I be able to just take it all away? I lay in the dark, listening to my husband's measured breathing. And then she remembered the way Artem was breathing. I squeezed my eyes shut, but the images in my head didn't go away. How do I live now, knowing that my heart has been torn in two? I woke up to the fact that the room was too quiet. Mikhail had already left, early, as usual, without further ado. Artem was silent as well. He hasn't called once in the last few days. Not one text. Not one delivery. I stared at the phone screen, my fingers hovering hesitantly over his name. One press and I would hear his voice again. Deep, slightly husky, playful. The voice that had shaken me out of my routine and made me look at myself in a new way. But I didn't click. I made coffee and sat by the window, watching people hurrying about their business. They must have clarity. They must know where they are going and what they want. And I'm stuck. I loved Mikhail. Not with that crazy, young fire, but calmly, quietly, gratefully. We had each other, despite the years, despite the fatigue. But with Artem, I was on fire. He made me feel different. Beautiful. Alive. Desirable. I wasn't just an older woman to him, he saw me as a woman. I closed my eyes and ran my fingers over my wrist. Where he'd touched me. If he had called. If Mikhail suddenly realized how much he would lose. I've been waiting for a sign. Anything that would tell me which way to go. But fate was silent. In the evening Michael brought home white lilies. Bought them on the way, he said, setting them on the table. I stared at those flowers for a long time. When was the last time he gave me flowers? I didn't know what to do. I stood at the mirror, looking at myself. The two women looked at me from there. One is a faithful wife, tired but devoted. The other is a woman who has gotten a taste of life again. Which one to choose? The phone was silent. Neither did Mikhail. And I stood in the middle of the room, not knowing where to go. Write in the comments what you think about this story. How would you act in the heroine's place? Have you had similar situations in your life? Your comments are very important to us and we appreciate each of you. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a like so that you don't miss new exciting stories. May your day be filled with warmth and good moments. And to make sure we know you're listening to the end, write in the comments, what path would I choose?